Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing the new Power Shift seasonal event, which is an alternate game mode in which every unit in our starting deck gets its power set to its provision cost, making low power, high provision cost cards far stronger than usual, including this deck that just keeps on getting stronger. So let's go give it a look. So today we are revisiting a Northern Realms Mobilization Reaver Hunter deck because although Reaver Hunters got nerfed with a higher provision cost, that means they're actually stronger, significantly stronger at that in this event. Why is that? Because if we take a look at the Reaver Hunters, normally they start with just 2 base power, which means when you use their order ability, they will spawn in a 1 base power copy of themselves, and that's it. You start off with 1 Reaver Hunter, you get 2 Reaver Hunters. However, because in this event they start with 6 base power, since that's their provision cost, that means using the order ability creates a 5 base power Reaver Hunter, then a 4 base power Reaver Hunter, 3, 2, 1. So 1 Reaver Hunter can create 6 Reaver Hunters, which is just ridiculous, both in terms of the base power on the card, but more importantly, the number of Hunters you can get on your side of the board to stack up ridiculous amounts of damage on your opponent. The other thing is that because this event tends to have a bunch of really high base power cards, opponents tend to have a bunch of tall punish, things like all the Geralts and whatnot. And that can make it really difficult for your opponent to answer the Reaver Hunters. Tend not to see as many things like lock or movement, which would normally be the ways that you would shut down the Reaver Hunters, so also easier to set up the Reaver Hunters than you might see in Standard. So that is the name of the game, is getting the Reaver Hunters on the board and getting a bazillion copies of them. However, it is worth noting, the original Reaver Hunter starts at 6 base power, and you can create all those extra copies of them. However, the extra copies you create with Mobilization, with cards like Boholt and whatnot, the Reaver Scouts, all the things that create the extra Reaver Hunters that you would normally use, those ones, because they are not from our starting deck, those Reaver Hunters we create in that case are just 2 base power. So they are significantly worse in that case. So if you can, you really want to focus on building around the original Reaver Hunters that you have in your starting deck because they will have that higher base power, and that is also why it is important for us to use Necromancy, because that way we have the 2 high base power versions in our starting deck, and Necromancy replays that 6 base power version that will go into our graveyard, assuming that we play some of the Reaver Hunters in round 1. So that's another way to gain the value of a fully powered up Reaver Hunter. Other than that, as I said, it's very similar to the type of thing you tend to see with a Reaver deck in Standard. Cards like Boholt, Mushy Truffle to create extra copies of them. This is another case where it's just going to be a 2 base power Reaver. Igni is our big tall removal answer, and it works particularly well because if we are mindful of the timing there, the Reaver Hunters, since they always damage the highest enemy unit, can help line up our opponent's cards on the same amount of power and give us a huge Igni that can remove much of the row. Matta, card draw. Ildiko, great, especially tend to save her for round 3. Player at the beginning of the round, that just makes it that much easier to get all of your Reavers set up as quickly as possible. Yes, it does mean it's 1 turn of setup, but long term, it absolutely pays off. Yennefer Conjuror, another card that because we're trying to line up a bunch of our opponent's units on the same amount of power, she can get a bunch of extra damage, or she can help line up Igni to remove all those cards. Foltest Pride, we have a little bit of Siege Engine stuff going on here. We'll see, we have a little bit of thinning to combine with that, but this is a way to target the specific cards rather than the Reaver Hunters that will always hit the highest unit. So if there's a specific unit on your opponent's side that you really need to get rid of, or at least damage to a certain extent, then Foltest Pride and some of the other siege engines we'll look at in a second is the best way to make that happen. Necromancy, as we were just saying. Voymir is one of your finishers. Obviously, you're going to have a lot of Reaver Hunters on your board, so at the end of the round, this is a nice point slam. Reaver Hunters. Dimeritium Shackles gives us a little bit of block. Maybe not super important, but every once in a while might find a good target for this. Reinforced Ballista, this is the other siege engine that we're going to use to target the specific cards that we need to get rid of on our opponent's side of the board, because Reaver Hunters, a lot of damage, yes, but not great at precisely going after the unit that we need to get rid of. Reaver Scout to create more Reavers. Siege Master, this is the thinning that we're getting when we play those siege engines, which is particularly good in this event because rather than the usual 1 base power, it's going to be 5 base power in this event, so not just thinning, but actually significant value on the board as well. Mahakam Ale, in case a Reaver Hunter gets locked. This is, again, pretty uncommon that you see it happen, but we have 1 in our deck just in case that does end up happening. Siege Ladder, similar story. In case a Reaver Hunter does get moved to the range row, you have a way to get it back into the melee row, but again, not usually going to be a high priority because there's not going to be quite as much of that happening in this event. Squirrel, specifically a tech card for this event for the most part because Skellige in particular has some really powerful decks that will recycle all of the Geralts that they play in round 1 when they use Lippy in round 2 or round 3. So use the Squirrel to get rid of some of those high value cards so they are not as effective when they use that Lippy. And then Redanian Elite, just another point slam option here because it will, rather than having 1 base power, have 4 base power, combine that with a 6-point boost, and it's a 10-point slam, so good at the end of the round since we have a bunch of engines in our deck. It's one of the few ways we can just put a bunch of points on the board really quickly without needing any additional setup. So that's a look at the deck. Like I said, it is pretty darn similar to your typical Reaver decks you would see in Standard, and we've done something like this before. It's just that this time around, it's even better because this time the Reaver Hunters got that provision nerf, air quotes, that is actually a buff in this event. So with that being said, let's go see it in action. Alright, so going up against Northern Realms here, and they'll go first. Okay, and we have a Reaver Hunter in our starting hand, and I think that is key, because that is, of course, the card that we'd like to build around. We can get some from Mushy Truffle and Reaver Scout as well, although because those are not from our starting deck, they will have the usual lowered starting base power rather than the 6 that we see here. So this one is definitely a nice pickup. Why don't we... I suspect this might even be a mirror match here. So if we could lock one of them, that would be great to stop their series of Reaver Hunters. Then again, with Inspired Zeal, they're going to be faster than we are with Dimeritium Shackles. We'll dump this. Yen is not bad. Like to save this for a later round. Yeah. Okay, we'll go with this. I am concerned about the mirror match, though. Henselt. I mean, there's a chance it's something entirely different. Raffert's Vengeance, I assume they're using leader ability on that. If they don't, that's going to be a locked target. Double Siege Master, okay. Yeah, and there's the leader ability charge, okay. Yeah, so looking like this may just be a full-blown dedicated siege deck. In which case, do we just proceed with Reavers? Or we can still lock some of these engines, and Henselt might even be more dangerous than Raffert's Vengeance is at this point, because he's going to get boosted pretty quickly. These are, of course, then going to become the targets of the Reaver Hunters, so not exactly sure what I think of this matchup, is basically what I'm starting to get at here, but let's try the Reaver Hunters. We'll withhold our leader ability for now. I'd like to say that for round 3, but this is a pretty aggressive start to round 1 for them, especially with these Siege Masters as well. Oh, okay, fair enough. Well, I mean, that would certainly suggest that we ought to have Dimeritium Shackled this Raffert's Vengeance as quickly as possible, and maybe it is still a mirror match by the looks of things then. Okay, so we need to prevent them from trying to set up what we're about to set up here. They can still, if they drop down to Reaver Hunters, use some leader ability charges to become very threatening here. But I think our best bet is now to lock Reaver Scout, and that at least slows them down, and we hope that our Reaver Hunters are going to be sufficient to take care of their higher-powered units. But at least at the moment, Henselt is 2 points per turn, and these Reaver Hunters are only 2 points per turn as of right now. Siege support. Yeah, they're really investing that Raffert's Vengeance. Or at least trying to. Reaver Scout would mean more Hunters. Again, they're going to be the weaker kind of Hunters. So I don't love that. We might be able to match them up close to the same amount of power to set up a bigger Yen. I am leaning toward going that route. Now we are at least dealing more damage to Henselt than he is getting boosted every turn, but still have a lot of ground to make up here, and yep. I mean, initially, Raffert's Vengeance did certainly appear to be the biggest threat. Probably still should have gone for the lock there. We might need to bail in this round, because this is not a winning formula. They do, in fact, break out the Reaver Hunters, as we suspected they might do. But the bigger issue is just that, yes, we have a bit of a head start with the Hunters, but they have so much more set up elsewhere. So I'm not really sure this gets any better in the long term. So I think we cut this really short. In which case, unfortunate that we had to use Yen. Probably should have saved her in hindsight, but I mean, they invested more than we did still. Certainly could have used an Igni in that round, would have been very useful, but okay. Have anything with Squirrel we'd like to banish from their graveyard? There's a chance they'll try to bring back their 6-power Reaver Hunters, but I'm not really sure that's going to make a huge difference. So I think we do dump you. There's our other original Reaver Hunters. We can get back the one that we played in round 1 with Necromancy. Again, it is important that you get the 6-space power version, because that means you can create that many more copies of it. We can create more here as well. We can get a little bit of thinning. It's you two. This is carryover. If the round is short, then that could be a little bit useful. Point slams. Maybe we don't need 2 of those. Okay, well, a ton of thinning at this point. Natalis. Amphibious Assault? Yeah. More Reavers? No, carryover with Ronvid. Okay. Okay. That kind of suggests to me that they're just looking for a short round here. That's the impression I'm getting. Otherwise, they would have gone Reavers there, I would assume. I mean, unless they have it in their hand, but still. So I think one approach would be Ballista, get 2 thinning from both of these Siege Masters, which turns us into what is actually a pretty huge point slam. And then maybe next turn it's Mushy Truffle for a little bit of carryover there. Then again, this is, I suppose, a little bit more time sensitive. We want to get this down early so we can get the Reaver Hunters duplicated and whatnot. So let's do this. It's tempo-wise certainly nowhere near as good, because this is doing a whole lot of nothing for the time being, but we're leaning more heavily on this being our point slam, and we can read now. I mean, after we played a pretty slow play there, they may try to push more aggressively in this round. They're going to go Mushy Truffle as well. Okay, well, does very much seem as though they're building around just a carryover. Do they bother with leader ability? They do. Okay, I mean, feels like that's a little bit overkill. If they were just going to pass on their next turn, but I suppose it does make it a little bit harder for us to catch them now. So if we go create the extra Reaver Hunters, we're going to go with the Reinforced Ballista. These guys, that's the maximum number we can get of them unless we break out, you know, something else to create additional copies. We do have 1 more card than they have in this round because they played 1 more than we did in round 1, so it's not a huge concern. Basically, it's just a matter of, do we go Ballista here and get all the thinning from these guys and turn it into a point slam, or do we go for a Scout to create extra copies of these guys more quickly? I think we might do that, because I think this round, I don't think the Ballista is enough by itself, even with the support of the Siege Masters. Okay, they do pass. That is to be expected, I think. So we do this. And then we go Ballista, which I didn't do the math, but I'm basically counting on this being big enough. Be a difference maker here. Getting Oneiromancy is certainly nice. Okay, we're tied at the moment. We're getting 3 damage per turn from our Hunters. They're getting 2 damage per turn from their Hunters. Their damage is going to hit a shielded unit. Our damage is not. I think we're still good here. We are. Okay. All right, and so now we draw into some of our big stuff, helped by some of that thinning we did in the previous round. So we get Foltest Bride, we get Boholt, we get Matta, which at this point, since we have Oneiromancy in hand, looks like it would give us Voymir, and in general make the round go longer, which, assuming we can out-Reaver Hunter them, is something we'd like to do, but that is not necessarily something we can say definitively. We haven't seen much in the way of control. I'm not sure we're going to need Mahakam Ale. I am also concerned about Redanian Elite against Hunters, so I think we dump that. Don't know how much value we're going to be able to get out of Squirrel. Okay. All right, so I think earlier we get Ildiko, the more quickly we can scale, and basically gives us the closest thing we can get to the equivalent of their leader ability. In fact, in a long round, you can make the case Ildiko is better than their leader ability, and then we still have our leader ability remaining. So that's kind of the determining factor here, I think. So I think we do probably go straight into her even before we start breaking out Boholts and our Hunters, because long term, that does pay off. Short term, it is slower. And that is a little scary, because if they get really aggressive here with their Reavers, which I expect they will, then they might just be able to overpower us before we can properly set up. We're about to find out, though. They probably don't like to see Ronvid coming into their melee row, because that is going to crowd out a place where they would otherwise like to see Reavers. Right, but I think we go... Is it straight into Reavers now? It probably is, and then it's Boholt next turn, I think? I think so. So with Ildiko, we can then immediately create the extra copy. So we're going to start hitting them at the end of this turn. And we would go Mobilization now. Again, it scales the Reavers more quickly for the damage purposes. It means a little bit less in the way of boosts for Boholt on our next turn. But there's a lot of tall removal in this event. Might prioritize getting the damage out as quickly as possible here. That is also going to be, because it's not from our starting deck, a weaker base copy version. So actually, the Necromancy into the Reaver Hunters in our graveyard that has 6 base power is a better copy of Reavers. So we are going to have no shortage of Reavers here. They're going to create more with Garrison. But if that's their only way to do it, that is just a 2 base power Reavers. As I was just saying was the case with the ones we were spawning in. They do go leader building, but yeah, that's not as good. Not nearly as good as what we have here, because this one we can create a bunch of extra copies of. Okay, so I like the signs of that. Boholt also, because the copy he creates will not be from our starting deck, I believe that will be a 2 base power version as well. So in an ideal circumstances, we'd like to have as high base power versions of the Reaver Hunters as possible. They can then create more Reaver Hunters down the line, and they're obviously just worth more points in the short term as well. So that's something to at least consider. I think we will still proceed here. There you see, it's 2 base power. This one's the good kind. That's 4 base power. So you could even make the case here. This one would be a 1 power Reaver that we create a copy of. It's tough, but I think I'm deliberately not going to use that. At least not yet. If it turns out that they start destroying some of our Reavers, which they may end up doing, then we'll have some order abilities to spare. But because we have so many Reavers we have access to, with Necromancy in particular, I am deliberately trying to fill our row with higher value Reavers. So I think we do this now. And we get the 6 base power version. It will get the Zeal. So now this is just a better Reaver, is basically what I'm getting at. So again, drawing that line between getting as many Reavers out as quickly as possible versus getting stronger base power Reavers. Hard to say definitively, but I think that was still the right play there. And then this one will be 3 base power if we create this, which is not quite as good as the one we'll create here, but that's maybe still good enough. We're willing to go that route, and I think we'll leave it at this. So we are certainly out-Reavering them. And you could, again, I mean, you could make the case. Just click on all these order abilities, maximize the damage from all the Reavers as quickly as possible, because we went more quickly than them. But I think, long-term, our setup will be better than theirs, because with Inspired Zeal, their win condition was basically to win the race, to get more Reavers out than we did, and they did not win that race. So I think that still bodes well for us. So what is our nearer target? Because Matta's going to give us Voymir. It's probably Reaver Scout, in which case even more Reaver Hunters, which is, again, all the more reason for us to hold back. Or it could be a last turn. Do we have last say? We don't have last say. Oh, I was going to say last turn, Redanian Elite. Boholt is big enough, then Redanian Elite might be able to avoid the damage here, but I kind of doubt it. Maybe Ildiko, a well-timed boost on that to avoid getting hit by the Reaver damage. Either way, I think we're probably... I'd like to get the crew pocket for you. Put you here. And we'll start hitting you. Now our melee row is full. So again, eventually we were gonna get to this point where we were gonna run out of room for our Reavers, which is why I was being pretty picky when it came to which ones we created the copies of. Reinforcements is still... Oh, no, they're going for the Ballista. Okay, sure. I mean, we're probably about to do that as well. So I think on one hand, we can destroy some Reavers with our damage. On the other hand, that does mean more room for them to spawn in more Reavers, because they, at least with this one, could potentially do that. So this is really the preferred target. Obviously, it has more base power, so it's a little bit harder to destroy, but... Also means we could Voymir at any point in time now that we have what is likely to be our maximum Reavers, or at least maximum in our melee row where they are most impactful. So I think we're looking at the Ballista here. Like to get the Reaver Scout, I guess here is going to be the way we get this crew pocket, but it's going to be a little bit awkward. So we destroy this Reaver Hunter, give them room to... I guess they're going to be able to spawn in an extra Reaver there anyway, so if we just take this out, it's probably the best answer regardless. And we can pick off the one that is still with its order ability remaining. They're trying to get rid of Ildiko. Okay, so we might need to rush a little bit to use her. So this was going to be our workaround to try to avoid having a Redanian Knight take the hit from the Reaver Hunters, but we might not have that luxury for long. Yeah, because they are very clearly going for her. Okay. Oh, we could Voymir to get the crew pocket. That's definitely what we should do. Voymir for crew pocket on Foltest Bride. Should have done that earlier, in fact. Then gonna have to use Ildiko, I think, because they're gonna have enough damage to destroy her on their next turn. In which case, do we just pile on as many boosts on Boholt as we can and try to have him be the card that absorbs all the damage? Also, we should be thinking Igni because, ooh, we have enough damage that it's actually gonna be hard to line up the Igni. Or maybe that's still gonna be a finisher. Okay, either way, I mean, I guess either way, we were going to get Voymir either from Matta or Oneiromancy. Technically should have done Matta. Guess it's one turn slower, though. Boost. Technically, you're bigger and you have armor, so I guess we'll hit you instead. And then, I mean, would like it to be you because you still have the order, but you have the armor as well, so at least in the short term, it's not really doing anything. There's their location ability. They're going to go after Ildiko, which the zeal we were getting from her, I don't really think that matters much anymore, right? I guess potentially for the scout that is now, I believe, going to be the thing that Matta gives us. And again, they had the Ronvid show up in the melee row, which means we, even now, in a full melee row for us versus a full melee row for them, we still have one more Reaver than they do. So long round does still favor us, which means making the round go one turn longer is good with Matta. Granted, they do have one more Ballista than we have, but okay. Also, eyeing the Igni, because goodness gracious. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. It's Igni time. It's Igni time. Yeah, can't pass up that opportunity. Cannot pass up that opportunity. Okay, that's pretty devastating for them. I am not sure they can come back from that. They can still create one more Reaver Hunter, but that's about it. And now we certainly benefit more from a long round than they do. So, okay, they're going to go after Foltest Bride. Makes sense, that's their next highest priority. But one extra turn of having way more Reavers than they have should definitely be beneficial for us. That's going to be now their highest card, right? At the end of their turn, at least, that's going to be the target of Reaver Hunters. It's not a huge problem. So we should... it's the most efficient way to remove these guys. I mean, we can go here. And then, yeah, I think it's this. And then it's that. And then it's Matta. Make the round go longer. Get the scout. As I said, at this point, it's probably not a big deal unless they had found a way to remove a hunter. Again, that's why I was pretty picky with how exactly we chose to make our hunters, because we've had ways to create more hunters for a while now. These still have unused order abilities, but they've just not been able to destroy any of them. So we've kept more sources available to us. Yeah, I mean, it means the scout is not really doing much at this point, but we're looking pretty good here. The biggest threat would probably be if they were to return the favor and hit us with an Igni on their last turn. So tell you what, I mean, our range row is all 6s, so that's a little bit concerning, definitely. Our melee row has a lot of 6s as well, but our melee row has more engines than our range row, so I think we care more about our melee row. We could Mushy Truffle melee row and Mahakam Ale range row, again, all just to avoid Ignis is the idea here. And we don't really care about Reaver Scout. It's not going to be a factor here anymore. So we just do this to brick an Igni, or at least make it hit much less stuff. So now it's going to just destroy that, if anything. And anything impactful here? I mean, I guess we'll poke you. So again, Igni was, I think, the only thing that could have theoretically caught us on this turn, and even then, I'm not sure would have been enough, but we played around that, so now we should definitely be safe. It is a siege tower anyway, so no problem. We will definitely take the win. No Reaver Scout necessary, because we are carried by the Reaver Hunters. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here, and they'll go first. Okay, so we have a bunch of Siege Masters, and we do have a Siege Engine, so we can get a bunch of thinning there. We have several Siege Engines, in fact. This is for combating movements, which I'm not really sure how much they're going to have there. Also, Squirrel is mostly against Skellige, where that's most relevant, so I think we probably are looking to mulligan you two. And we do not have any Reaver Hunters in our hand right now, which is pretty concerning. Nor do we have a way to get them, unless we make it happen with the thinning from Siege Master giving us card draw. So I think that means we have to be pretty quick to play a Siege Engine here. It's probably going to be Foltest Pride, or, I mean, it could be Reinforced Ballista. I could just remove this Album Pikeman, but I'm not really sure that's big enough concern. They don't have enough units in the board to get the full value of Foltest Pride anyway. So I think we go this way first. And yep, okay, perfect. We draw into Reaver Hunters. I was going to say, we'll deliberately play in the range row just in case we do find Reaver Hunters, because we definitely want to be playing that in the melee row. So, perfect. That is now workable. Alright, it's Hard Fiend-led Cavalry. That's going to deal some damage. I mean, it looks like, you know, your typical Imperial Formation Nilfgaard Soldiers deck, at least thus far. So, if we poke you, then you don't have armor, you can't use your ability anymore. However, they can obviously use their lead ability to change that. So, I mean, Foltest Pride does have a crew pocket, which is kind of nice, but I think we're probably still looking to go Reaver Hunters here and now. And then if this gets answered, still get rid of the armor on you because we can. And technically, Foltest Pride would be preferable to use the Siege Master charges on that, so we'll wait and see. That might be our backup plan if this gets answered. Alright, it's Darlin's Soldier. I assume they're going to get a lot of thinning out of this. Yup. Alright, they do use leader ability there, as we expected they might do, on Light Cavalry. Perhaps even more. Oh, well, they were doing it at the end of their turn, which I'm not sure that they meant to do, because now they used all their remaining charges. They do get Alpha out, but I suspect that may not have really been their intention. So, was gonna say we could Foltest Pride right here with the crew pocket, use Siege Master, get the cooldown back more quickly, and basically just wipe out the Light Cavalry. Now it's boosted and armored enough that that is much harder to... I mean, we could still get rid of its armor, right? Probably still do that. Sure. They didn't answer that, so that's nice. And that means we should have a lot of power here. So I think we do just this to immediate... Well, actually, poke you. They don't have any leader ability charges anymore, so that means this is probably shut down. In which case, I mean, yeah, I guess we still do this, but we're getting a little more damage if we put you somewhere over here, where you have adjacent units to hit. And with no armor, that means Affin's ability, or only one unit that's armored. Affin's ability is much weaker. Okay, so they pass. It passed pretty early at that. We have certainly better engines than they have right now. We do need to play a little bit further here, but maybe this is a good occasion for Redanian Elite to just put down some points right now, and then, sure, do some of that, and that should be sufficient for us to win the round. Alright, we get Necromancy. That's good, because we would ideally like to replay our 6 base power Reaver Hunters so we can create a bunch of additional Reaver Hunters. So that is very nice in that way. Reaver Scouts and Boholt. Honestly, we probably have more ways to create Reaver Hunters than we need. The question would be, you know, if something ends up getting locked, then this is sort of a workaround there where we can still create additional copies. Don't think Squirrel's going to be a huge factor against Nilfgaard. Voymir can be a good finisher for us. I'm looking for... I think I am going to mulligan one of these. Just looking for either Oneiro or Mushy Truffle to get, or well, Oneiro to get Mushy Truffle, basically, because that would have been a nice source of carryover. But we have potentially 2 throwaways here. Don't really think we're looking to play a card down, because we do like long rounds. So I think Siege Ladder is probably our weakest option here. We just drop that. Again, it is here, so that if one of our Reaver Hunters gets moved into the range row, we can still move it back out, but I don't really think we're going to see Nilfgaard doing that much. Take a Blightmaker for some thinning. It's not a bad idea. And we do technically still have one more throwaway card here, but I think at this point we're looking at stuff that we would like to save. We could use Dimeritium Shackles. Again, it's not really for the value in round 2, it's just that we don't ever see it in round 3, but I mean, there's probably something we'd at least get decent value using this on in round 3, so I think we'll still hold on to it. So they still have 2 more throwaways if they'd like to use them, and they might do that with something like another Blightmaker if they have it. It's Triss Butterflies. I mean, that's setting them up for round 3. That also makes sense. And they'll pass there, so they'll take round 2. Alright, we're drawn to Redanian Elite, which can be a decent finisher, just because most of our other stuff is engines, but we do have Voymir, who's already going to be a really nice point slam for us. Mahakam Ale is good against Nilfgaard, because normally you would expect lock, but it seems like they might not have too much of that. So I'm reluctant to get rid of it, because it's Nilfgaard. On the other hand, there are better cards that we've not yet seen. So I think it is going to be these 3 that we're considering dumping. Squirrel, don't love it. Mushy Truffle, that's what we really wanted before. It is another way of getting more Reaver Hunters, though, so that is still useful in that way. I think we'll dump it. Reaver Scout, okay, we have tons of access to Reavers here. So even if we do get locked, we have other ways to get more unlocked Reavers. So that's why, at this point, I don't think that's a huge deal. Oh, maybe Squirrel would have been useful, because they did use Desire to get something back. Oh, was it... Oh, is it Affin? Oh, they must be... They're about to play Damien, aren't they? Well, I mean, that's the only reason I can think of why that would be meaningful to do that. But I think we are looking to go Ildiko first, because although it means we're starting slightly slower, long-term, having everything that we play start with Zeal is huge, and that will, long-term, make things go faster. Ramon. Okay, into some damage. Sure. Now we go probably into... Do we have Reaver Hunters directly? No, I think we're looking at Necromancy to get it. Yeah, we still have one hanging out in our deck. We have a bunch of good stuff hanging out in our deck. Yeah, it's kind of painful, but should still be able to make this work. If we go Necromancy, as I was saying, this is a way to get the 6 base power Reaver Hunters, which is significant, because that means we can then create a 5 base power Reaver Hunters there, and we probably will go straight into leader ability here as well. You can make a case for waiting for Boholt first, but we'll prioritize a little bit more the damage over the boost on Boholt. They have a lot of armor that's going to take us a little bit of time to break through. Okay, another crossbowman. They are going after Ildiko, which is the right choice, but she's already given us some value and is about to give us a lot more, because here we will play Boholt, and we can play him range row, because Ildiko will still provide with the Zeal. Now we create one of you. So this one only has 2 base power, because this came from her leader ability, so this one's a little bit weaker. So given how we have so many Reaver Hunters that we can create with Boholt, with these guys, with 2 Reaver Scouts, with Mushy Truffle, we can perhaps be a little bit picky with which ones we create the copies of, if we'd like to. Or we can just go all out on the damage. Sure, we'll just go all out on the damage this time. We'll be aggressive here, because this is a 1 base power Reaver Hunter, whereas this one will eventually create a 3 base power Reaver Hunter, and this would create a 2 base power, 2 base power, 2 base power option there. That is a big Rune Mage. Where was there? Oh, it must have been the target of Triss, right? Okay, that's interesting. Not entirely sure why they prioritize that so much. I mean, it means more crossbowmen, but if we can get enough damage to break through their armor, then that will make it such that these are much weaker. And Reinforced Ballista gives us the targeted damage that we are lacking with these Hunters, because these Hunters are just going to focus on the Rune Mage for the time being. Yennefer is also a good option to get down early, although at the moment she's just 1 point per turn, so she's not much different from these guys, or even Reaver Scouts, leading to additional Reaver Hunters. Actually, this is... yeah, this might even be quicker still, but again, at the very least, we're looking here. We're gonna have so many Reaver Hunters. So now, I mean, I guess we'll go Ballista. And we'll just, I mean, we could get rid of, sure, get rid of your armor. Might have enough Reavers that, yeah, soon we're going to start hitting these other guys, unless they play another big point slam. Nazca Sergeants will give them the boost from battle preparation, so in a way, that's what they end up getting here. All right, so still create more. This is going to be 2 base power Reaver Hunter from this, so I guess that's equivalent what we'd get from Reaver Scout. Maybe we could use the Reaver Scout to create a 2 base power version there, and then we just save this order ability in case something else gets destroyed, and we can use this on a later occasion in that way. Or if anything else, we can create a copy. Nah, not really. Unless we create a copy of Redanian Elite. Honestly, that might even be worth doing. They do have enough damage that that's something we'd want to delay a bit. We don't have to play it immediately, even if we have the Zeal. So I guess, sure, we'll do this. We may end up using this to create another Redanian Elite or 2, in which case we'll use Yen on this occasion. We'll hit you to remove the armor, although that was going to go down anyway. We might need to use Ildiko, rather, on this occasion. Use it on Yen, I guess. Don't really want to load up even more on Boholt, because if they have tall removal, which I imagine they have some form of tall removal, they're obviously going to use it on him. So making him even taller is probably not the best idea. And he is going to get taller still if we do, in fact, use Reaver Scouts to create additional Redanian Elites. It's Renfrey. What do they do with her? Damaging every unit is probably the best option because we have so many on the board and some of them are relatively weak, but that is, again, why we still have many ways to create additional Reaver Hunters if necessary. What is it? It's play bronze unit from hand, look at top 3 cards from the deck. That is a good one, but it does not directly shut down our stuff here. Play the lowest provision cost unit from their deck when they're done, so they are going to play a bunch of these before everything is said and done here by the looks of things. Alright, so Renfrey's obviously the immediate target for the Hunters. Your armor doesn't really matter. Yours does. You're the one that's most difficult to or you two, most difficult to shut down with these guys. So I think we do use the Reinforced Ballista for that purpose then. And might have to. Redanian Elite now. So we have something. Otherwise, we just do Reaver Scout and wait and see what we might want to create a copy of later on. I guess. So I don't love playing this early. It's just an invitation for it to get damaged a little bit, and then it gets reset. This is where we'd love to see Igni, but unfortunately it got buried in our deck, and we never saw Igni, we never saw Oneiro, we never saw Matta. So we really got unlucky there. Okay, Spotter will eventually get to be fairly big as well. Tons of armor for the time being, which, I mean, it is right now the highest unit, so we'll take all of the damage from the Reaver Hunters. Okay, and Ildiko is... Okay, there's the Affin that we anticipated they would use at some point. Triss is huge. Make no mistake. So now it is you who is the highest unit. So, I mean, technically, Voymir gets stronger if we create Reaver Hunters even in the range row, but I'm not really sure that that is worth doing. We will eventually create another one with Mushy Truffle for what it's worth. And does that mean we do that now so we have time to have Voymir activate? We might not have enough board space here. I imagine they're going to remove Ildiko soon. Maybe we wait to see if they destroy a melee row Reaver before we play Mushy Truffle, but I mean, we have so many answers to that if that does turn out to be the case. They can boost stuff that has armor with Affin. There is something to be said. I mean, granted, we're not going to be able to remove that armor quickly enough, but... Alright, and it's cavalry, light cavalry. But at this point, we'd kind of like for them to remove something on our side. There's the boost in all their armored cards. As we were saying, they didn't have that much. This is going to get boosted pretty highly, though. Oh, no. Just 5 vitality. Okay. So this might get destroyed, in which case we can create another stronger copy of it. So do we go Voymir now? Do we go... We might go Redanian Elite here. All right, let's hit you to remove the armor. Do this. Do they have... Is 11 their highest right now? In which case they actually do have some stuff lined up. Yeah. Okay, everything lined up at 10. Well, will be 11 after this spotter gets vitality boosted. So now I think it is Redanian Elite. And that may end up being what we create extra copies of with the Reaver Scout, although we do want to make sure we still have room for Voymir, which is why, as I was saying, I actually do want them to destroy something here, so we have room for Voymir and Redanian Elites. That's going to be pretty big. They're going to put it on the spotter, try to make that the one very big target. Okay, and we do now have room to either create an extra Reaver Hunter or spawn in one. I mean, that's a 1-power one if we click on this order ability. It's a 2-power one if we use the Reaver Scout. So I think we probably still go the Reaver Scout creating it. I mean, is that better than, technically speaking, Redanian Elite at this point is probably still better, but the question remains, is this the right time to do that? Because with just 1 armor, this one could easily get reset, and anything else that we play could also get reset by their various sources of damage. What if we go Mushy Truffle here instead? It takes up a lot of room, is my biggest concern. I was considering just outright not even playing it at one point, or having it be our last card and just accepting that it was going to get bricked a little bit, but let's see. Let me just hit something. Don't really think we're able to do much to prevent or remove armor altogether at this point. On any card that it matters for, at least. So this is where we really wanted to see Igni as our finisher. That's what we were looking for. Because then we could have at least gotten rid of this 10, and then we had a bunch of, or if we found a way to get rid of this 10 and then Igni, then they have a bunch of 8s lined up, and I mean, Yen would be better, but okay. So it's gonna be, Voymir I think has to be the play here. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So Voymir is a 16, yeah, that's better than creating an extra Redanian Elite with a Reaver Scout, I think. So it is still gonna be this. Then we're going to obviously use Mushy Truffle as well. Then we're going to use you. Can't quite line everything up for Yen, unfortunately, but after our Hunter damage kicks in, we will still hold on for the win. No Igni necessary. So there's a look at a Northern Realms Reavers deck for the new Power Shift seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and leave a comment down below to let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions you'd like us to experiment with next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.